terms of missing persons cases, this decedent that we recovered was one of the missing persons cases I reported to you earlier. That was one of the two. We have 3 more today, and we'll be vetting those and going through them. Like I said, we have detectives that are committed to going through these cases until we're absolutely certain where these people are. And so today, that list grew to 3. In terms of cell phones, so for those people that are choosing to remain in their homes, we encourage you to evacuate. You just don't know what the weather's going to do. Granted, we got rain right now, which is a great thing. But if something changes, the wind changes or what have you, it leads to a rescue, and obviously it divides our resources. But if you're going to stay in the evacuated area, I want you to know that cell service is extremely sporadic. I mean, throughout the valley. And so if you needed help, if we have to reach out to you because of reverse 911, or we have to somehow, or if your family needs to get in touch with you, they're not going to have that opportunity because cell service is down right now. Now, granted, Verizon is working on that, so they're working on that today. Hopefully, they'll be able to fix it. But if something else changes, that might not happen. And then AT&T, if you have that service, they're working on it tomorrow. That could take some time. I say that because if you needed help tonight, you might not be able to make a phone call. So it's important to be able to heed the evacuation warning and leave those evacuation areas. I want to touch on scams. I touched on that this morning. So again, it's unfortunate. There's people out there that are looking to take advantage of you if you've evacuated. And so these scams are going to continue. And so you might get a phone call. I mentioned it this morning if you didn't hear. That you may get a phone call. It could be somebody claiming to be from PG&E. It could be somebody saying that, hey, we're here to fix your gas line or whatever. And they may tell you that's going to cost an amount of money and we'll be there. And then there's this gift card angle. There's a whole lot of different angles these folks use to be able to ruse people into giving them money. And so unfortunately it happens. In other times I've seen people unfortunately lose, thousands of dollars to these folks. So please, if you get a phone call from a utility company or someone that says they're with us, nobody's going to ask you for money over the phone, and definitely nobody's going to ask you for gift cards over the phone. That's typically how these things work. On somewhat of a positive note, the county has developed a free hotel program, and so I want to be able to direct people because frankly we can empathize that. In a time like we're in today with COVID and everything else that's going on, having resources for people to utilize to be able to find a place to sleep is vitally important. And frankly, we know people are hurting. So here's a resource for people if they're looking for free lodging. And I've mentioned this website I believe last night. SantaCruzCounty.us/fire resources. That's SantaCruzCounty.us/fire resources. And they developed this the County of Santa Cruz developed this not only with the thought in mind that people needed a place to sleep, but also recognizing that sleeping outside just isn't healthy in a fire environment. I mean, it's extremely smoky throughout the county. And so sleeping outside just may not be good for people's health. So if you need free housing, and definitely, it's healthier to sleep indoors than it is outside. Look at that website. And then lastly, the city of Watsonville has set up a community donation center, and that's at 114 Walker Street in the city of Watsonville. So that's 114 Walker Street in Watsonville, and that donation center is open Monday to Friday, 8 to 8, for folks who want to donate supplies and other things for people that have been displaced. Thank you.
Speaking next from the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office is Detective Blanksway.
For San Mateo County, we are seeing some scams popping up of people claiming to be fire victims. They've lost their houses or they need some kind of funding to assist them with recovering from this. We ask that you do your due diligence to look into whether or not these scams are real. One of the scams we saw, this person had already raised $22,000. So do what you can to try to vet these GoFundMe accounts and do the best you can to save your hard-earned money. Any changes that we have in weather or conditions for the San Mateo County and coastline, we'll update you through our social media platforms as well as SMC Alert and the Sheriff's app. That's all we have. Thank you.
Speaking next from CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3, Incident Commander Billy C.
Hey, good evening. Obviously, it's been a tragic day. Finding a civilian fatality out there on any incident is tragic. And, on behalf of Team 3 and CAL FIRE and all the cooperating agencies, our condolences out to the family of the deceased. Today was a good day on the fire line. The weather's been moderated for us. The humidity have come up and has allowed the firefighting personnel out on the ground to make significant headway in developing containment lines around this incident. Over the next few hours, we anticipate additional personnel showing up on the incident, along with additional engines, which will bolster our firefighting force on the ground tomorrow. Obviously, we're still under a red flag warning. It's been decreased until 5 p.m. tomorrow night. And we have moisture coming in right now, which will benefit the firefighting effort on the ground. But we'll watch closely throughout the night and into tomorrow to see if we have any lightning activity with it. As we continue throughout the week, the weather pattern is going to diminish, and what the predictions right now will remain that the humidity levels will come up. The recovery at night will increase, which will allow our firefighting personnel to gain significant headway, as long as we don't have any significant winds with the weather pattern. So to close, like I said, our hearts go out to the families deceased, and the firefighters will continue to put their best foot forward to contain this incident progress. Thank you.
And our final speaker, CAL FIRE San Mateo Santa Cruz Unit Chief Larkin.
Good evening. Just want to reiterate and state that yes, our condolences go out to the family of the citizen that lost his life in this fire. It's just a stark reminder of those that still remain in the area that this fire has become deadly. And I just want to reiterate to those that are still out in the communities that we have a weather pattern coming in that's unpredictable. We are seeing a little bit of moisture with it, but we don't know how much moisture we're going to get. We do not know if we're going to get lightning or not. We don't know what the wind speeds are actually going to be in and around the fire. It still has potential to be a devastating situation for those that remain in that fire area. I had an opportunity today to go out on the line and just to view a little bit more of the fire area, and it's pretty devastating, the amount of destruction that has occurred, not only in our watershed, but to the residents in the communities here in Santa Cruz County. It's just a stark reminder of where we live. We live in the mountains, we live in the rural areas, and though it hasn't happened here ever, it has happened here now. So moving forward, the troops are doing a great job out there, making progress with the resources that we have at scene, and as we continue to get new resources in, the team will be doing the allocation to make sure those resources are put in there in the most advantageous way to get the production that we need to get this fire under control. Thank you.
Just a few items to note before we take any questions. A few questions have come up about the damage inspection process. There's 12 damage inspection teams out there now looking at the damaged and destroyed structures. They are being hindered by all of the trees that are down in the roadway, all of the kind of poles that are down, the wires on the ground. So it's just taking time to get in those deep canyons, some of which are still smoldering and hot and still have fire in them. So there will be increases in those numbers. It's just going to take some time for our damage inspection teams to get in there. With that, a couple other questions that have come up recently are in regards to infrastructure and the watershed. The CAL FIRE incident management teams work with what's called a watershed emergency response team, or a WERT, to address the kind of impact on the watersheds, such as the watershed here in this fire, essentially. So those are two things that I think are important to note because they do come up often in the questions. With that, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, yesterday you talked about the National Guard. So where are they as far as the training is concerned, and when will they be able to actually be out there helping in the firefighting effort?
Yes, the questions are related to where is the National Guard and when will they be here at the fire themselves, and I'll pass that over to Chief C.
Currently, the National Guard's been activated. They're training down in the San Luis unit right now. They do a 5-day training period. We anticipate that training and going out on the line around the 26th, 27th. They'll be deployed based on the need of incidents throughout the state of California.
Do you have specific numbers of how many will come for this fire?
Not at this point, no. That'll be determined, once they become available after the training period is completed.
Yeah.
We get more information on the death of the 7-year-old. You said he was missing a few days ago, and now it's...
Sure. The question was related to the fatality that's been confirmed and any further information about that. I'll pass it over to the sheriff's office.
Yeah, so, you know, we take missing persons cases, and we've taken a few during the course of this fire. This missing person, or this person that lost their life, it was reported to us this person was missing, and so through our detectives' efforts to locate him, as well as people in and around the area alerting us to basically what potentially appeared to be human remains is what got us to that area. And I want to talk to that for a minute. We want to get to these areas. We want to find these people. We do. And so, unfortunately, in this case, it took a helicopter to get there. And not only that, but changing conditions and fire and just all the hazards that come with that. It took us some time to get there, but we got there. And so today, we were able to bring that person back here to Santa Cruz.
When was that person missing again?
Early on in the fire, I want to say it was like either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Was he found at his home or on his property?
No. So he was found kind of towards the end of Last Chance Road. And so some distance from what we think potentially is this person's car. And again, I'd like to tell you who the person is. We just haven't spoken to the family, and obviously out of respect for that and their loss, we want to make sure that we honor that. And yeah, there'll be more information with that as we go along.
Any idea if he was one of the people trying to stay behind and fight the fire, or is not help the situation?
That's something we're working through. And so obviously it's contacting people and speaking to people that were in and around that area and getting the statements from them and trying to help us answer what exactly was this person doing. I mean, likely they may have been trying to escape that fire, just speaking plainly. But those are all questions that we have, things that we're working through, and answers that we want to give the family when we notify them.
How many more missing persons are there right now?
So right now we have 4 additional cases. And again, like I said, we've been working through, up until today we only had 2. So we had this person that we found, and then we had 1 more. That case, one of our earlier cases, we were hoping to get up there and do further investigation today. I don't have any other information on that. Then we developed 3 more today. And again, our detectives are in the middle of gathering more information, trying to get to those areas.
This is a few days ago now, but on Wednesday someone asked how the evacuations on Last Chance Road were handled and how the sheriff's office would handle evacuations in the future. And you mentioned that it gets to the heart of the sheriff's office's relationship to CAL FIRE. Since then, of course, everyone's been really proactive about doing evacuations, but how has CAL FIRE been in terms of communicating with your office and your colleagues? And is there anything that you do better? Were there any hiccups in those initial days?
No. I mean, we were locked with CAL FIRE, and I couldn't speak more highly of the job they're doing with the resources that they have. You know, I'll tell you, I was at my office on Tuesday when I got a call. There was a fire in Boulder Creek. And so me and my management team, we responded directly to CAL FIRE headquarters. And that's where I met up with Chief Larkin, and we began working this crisis together. So we've been tied in that relationship ever since. We're co-located here at base camp. And so our folks are working, I mean, hour by hour with CAL FIRE. Yes, ma'am.
We saw, it's actually a question from CAL FIRE, but we saw some flames near Boulder Creek, and I'm just wondering, what's the strategy tonight to protect that community?
So the question is, what is the strategy to protect Boulder Creek tonight?
Correct.
And Chief Brent will be able to answer that.
So yeah, the fire is still actively burning. So there are going to be flames visible, especially certain vantage points, especially as the fire progresses, albeit slowly, and people will see some flames. So yeah, what we have, as I explained earlier, we have control lines that we've been working on, and we're in the process of establishing. We have crews that are working that area, and yeah, it's going to be something that's an ongoing effort, and you know, the fire isn't fully controlled by any stretch, so that will occur, especially now that the smoke is lifted due to the weather conditions. They are going to be more visible, as before the smoke really was hiding those flames. But I can assure you that the crews are working diligently at suppressing that, and quite honestly have done a fantastic job in constructing the amount of control line in such a small period of time with limited resources and very adverse conditions with heavy fuels and very steep topography.
So I have a question. It still is called the CZU, like the complex fire, of course, but it sounds like it's basically just one fire, just one couple spot fires around the perimeter. Is that the case, or are there still a variety of fires in there?
Correct. So the question regards to it was a complex of fires, but we have one large fire now. So yes, it did start out as a complex of fires, a number of small fires, all created by the lightning event that occurred early in the week. As those small fires grew, they all grew together into one large fire. There are, as you can see on the map, some of the circles with the X's. Those were some of the other additional lightning fires that occurred, but were suppressed and are in a patrol mode right now. So we check on those on a regular basis to make sure there's no flare-ups, mop those up, and then eventually put those into a control status, which means that they're completely and fully out. So yeah, what you see now is we're a bunch of fires that rapidly grew together into one big fire. And that typically happens with these complexes. What you're seeing in further North Bay and over in the East Bay with those fires, same thing. They were all a bunch of very small fires that have grown all together into one large event.
What do you see as the biggest challenges your crews have faced during this fire?
The largest challenge that we faced, well, we've been saying time and again, the limited resources. Typically, on most of our wildland fire events throughout the state, in most fire seasons, we'll have one or a couple large fires occurring at the same time. But we still have a lot of resources available to us. California is very fortunate. We're a very, very unique state in the fact, in emergency response, that we have a very good mutual aid system. So we work very closely not only with CAL FIRE, but with our federal and local government partners, as well as our law enforcement partners, working harmoniously to take care of these events. So what happened here was it was such a widespread event with a variety of fires that are ongoing, limited resources, and then where most of these lightning fires occur, they're not in very easy terrain for us to fight fire in. So it makes it a challenge for us with the limited resources to work in very inhospitable terrain for the most part, in heavy fuel loadings, to be successful with our strategy and tactics. And that is probably, all combined, the biggest challenge we're facing right now.
Could someone touch on the weather and fire conditions in San Mateo County or changes?
I could address that, sure. So what we saw early in the event, obviously the lightning event went through. Then what we saw on the backside of that was a weather event in which we had a significant north wind event, which pushed the ignited vegetation and created the large fire that we have now. We saw that over a period of time. So with those winds, the relative humidity is plummeting, which the drier the air mass, the drier the fuels, and then more intensity with our fires. As the week progressed towards the end of the week, we saw some of those mitigate. We saw the winds decrease. Our relative humidities weren't as low as they were, and that gave us an opportunity to really jump in on the fire and employ our strategy and tactics with some success. Then we have the event as we're facing now, where we're seeing the breakup of a previous hurricane. It creates a lot of moisture and conditions that lend themselves to potential for dry lightning and strong outflow winds that we call them, which push the fire in many different directions. We don't have a very directional wind pattern with these, so it's very unpredictable and very dangerous for our crews. As we progress through this event, we'll see what actually happens. We really didn't have a prediction of any sort of precipitation. We saw a little bit right now. Is it enough to put out this fire? I don't want to give any false hope. No. The fuels are so dry. Is it going to give us a little bit of help? Absolutely. As we move through the rest of the weekend and into the next week, the forecasts are very favorable with a little bit higher relative humidities, light winds, temperatures a little bit above average, but it's stuff that we face in a normal summer day throughout the state of California and suppressing wildland fire. So it's stuff that we're used to working in as far as the environment and regarding the weather and the fuels conditions. although albeit dry. And I think, and I believe that this week we're going to have a lot of good progress. Once we get past this weather event here this weekend, it should set us up well, especially as we get more resources, which we've been seeing. And I think we're going to have a lot of good success for this coming week. You'll see as we progress through the week, more wins for the big win to put this thing completely to bed.
What's potentially more concerning? Sporadically starting a new fire in a different area, or sporadically, blowing the current fire in a different direction?
So the question regarding what's worse, if the news starts from the lightning or the wind. Really, with the news starts, it's a bit of a roll of the dice as far as will these start something, ignite something on a magnitude? Was there wind directly behind it that'll make that small fire into something bigger? We have plans that we put together with this event that we knew we were going to face, that we would attack those small fires. We have contingency plans. Keep those small, isolate those, and then it's not as big of a problem for us. But when you have a fire this large, when we don't have as many control lines in place that we would typically or like to have at this point in time within this event, then certainly these outflow winds, these erratic winds, which are very unpredictable, especially with this topography and the dry fuels, that's more concerning to myself, to my other fireground commanders, as well as our personnel out in the line. So I would say out of the two, the wind is the bigger issue.
What do you think of the people staying behind in the evac zones? There's a group in Bonnie Doon, for instance, that claims they saved 20 homes. What's your thoughts on these people?
That's a bit of a challenge in the fact that for people that are the property owners, I understand, I get it. I've personally been through events where my home or my family's home was threatened by fire, and obviously you want to do what you can to protect your property, and we understand that. We invoke the fact that we evacuate the people, and we've said it time and again. The main reason is so that, number one, their safety is first and foremost. No offense to anybody, but most are not trained professional firefighters, and although they think they're doing the right thing and they're doing a good thing, they inadvertently put themselves into harm's way. And when we're in there, whether it be ourselves as firefighters doing fire suppression, or our brothers and sisters in law enforcement that are doing their job to isolate that area and to make it safe, it puts us in a really disadvantageous position when we have to go and perform a rescue for somebody that inadvertently gets themselves in a bad spot. For those people that have stayed behind, it has created some challenges for us, some innocently and some where, as we've reported, where they've taken advantage on criminal activity and nefarious actions. So overall, I would say that, like we've said time and again, I know they want to do the right thing, they want to protect their property, understand that right, but in the big picture, it's safer to have us that are professionals go in there, take care of that, protect their lives, protect their property, and end this event.
But you also talk about how strapped the crews are and how you need more resources. In those first few days, did it help at all to have? Was it all more complicated? Was there any benefits to having those crews on the ground?
Yeah, I think we're happy to chat with you further. We'll take individual questions after this. I just want to close this out by saying, although there's a team up here and a group of unified incident commanders, there's a whole bunch of people that are not acknowledged and that we really want to say thank you to. And that is all the people who are working at the shelters right now, all those non-profit organizations that are helping people get their animals out and keeping them safe. And I think that requires a lot of acknowledgement, and from our team especially, thank you for assisting us in being successful. With that, thank you to the media. That's the fastest I've ever seen a press conference be scrambled and reset up. I apologize for the inconvenience. We'll see you here again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. This concludes the press conference. Thank you.